All right, guys, welcome back to the Pocket Mads channel. It's Maddie here, and today we're going to talk about a bunch of really cool decks that, aren't really considered top-tier popular meta decks, but did well in recent online tournaments. Pokemon Pocket at this point in the game's life cycle has so many, and I mean like literally so many incredibly strong cards that I think that there's a lot of things that people just don't really play that often that kind of deserve to see more play. This video series that we do every Wednesday is about highlighting smaller tournaments that go on throughout the week, but also all of the players in the deck lists that do well at those tournaments. But of course, we run our own tournament on the weekend. It's the largest weekly Pokemon Pocket tournament series. PMPT number 24 is this coming weekend, the last of our community tournaments until the new season. And speaking of new seasons and new expansions and new updates, we actually have a little bit of news to talk about before we get into the deck list today. But you can go ahead and register. Down in the description below is the link. You can click the link to go register, and the link is down in the description below. PMPT number 24, Paldeon Pinnacle, now spelled correctly. Shout out to the moderators for fixing that. Thank you. Anyway, the news to talk about here is a post that was posted on the official Pokemon TCG Pocket X account, or Twitter, or X. The X account. This is just an image of Mega Gengar with a date and a time. So it says tomorrow. So I guess we're getting a new trailer tomorrow. And I suppose that the new set coming out to Pokemon Pocket will be Mega Gengar themed. Could we finally be getting another new psychic mega Pokemon? I say finally, that's all they've been giving us. I don't know why. Maybe are there other Pokemon cards available that are non-psychic type Pokemon? I don't know. I know Gengar's not psychic type, but in the game, it's a psychic type, right? We've had Altaria, which is still dominating the metagame, Gardevoir. So now we're getting Mega Gengar. All I want is Mega Lucario. All I want is a good fighting type card. But unfortunately, if we do get a good fighting type card, it will be week 2. You guessed it, Psychic. So anyway, that's the news. The trailer will come out tomorrow, and we'll make a video about it. It's going to be quite exciting, if I say so myself. That's all. That's all the information I have. I figured I'd mention it. There you go. If you haven't seen the post yet, very exciting. Mega Gengar coming. Will the cards be copy-pasted from the official TCG, just like the last set? Maybe. We don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Tune in tomorrow to find out. Anyway, let's get into the deck lists here. The first deck that we're going to talk about is Flippenton from the United States at the Dark League Pocket Regional Tournament. $80 US in the prize pool. This is Guzzlord. And somebody mentioned this in the Discord server the other day. They were like, hey, the Steelix Indeedee deck did well, but this Guzzlord deck has been doing well. So very similarly to that Steelix kind of stall-based deck with Indeedee and the healing and like ice pops and stuff. Now we have the same kind of concept, but it's Guzzlord EX. Again, if we go back here, 11-2 was the record. And if we go to the matchups here, lost in top 4, so a very great run. This is the deck list. So to double Guzzlord EX, double Indeedee, we do have Lusamine, because Lusamine's a really, really good card with Ultra Beasts. It allows you to kind of chain that first Guzzlord into the second Guzzlord a little bit more consistently. But yeah, Heavy Helmet, Lucky Ice Pop, double Indeedee, keeping Guzzlord alive basically forever. And that's the entire concept here, which is hilarious. Starting Plains is going to bring Guzzlord up to 190 HP. Heavy Helmet means it takes 20 less damage from attacks. And then, of course, Lucky Ice Pop to keep this thing alive infinitely sometimes if you are lucky with the Lucky Ice Pop. And that's the deck. Guzzlord is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, but it's also, Guzzlord EX is one of my favorite cards ever in Pokemon Pocket because the Grind Core attack is hilarious. It discards energies, does a little bit of damage, but then if you do end up getting 4 energies on this thing, you're hitting for 120 damage. It's really not a bad Pokemon. And again, Starting Plains buff, Heavy Helmet buff, Poncho to buff and protect Indeedee. Lucky Ice Pops, like this is a strategy that sounds, quite frankly, it sounds terrible. It sounds horrible to play against, but sounds really fun to play. And as we've seen here, it's done really well in an online tournament, which is pretty funny. Again, I love late in the season. We talked about it in yesterday's video when we did our meta report. These sort of stall tank decks with like Lucky Ice Pop and Indeedee and Heavy Helmet, that is its own sort of core package, like archetype that you can kind of apply to a certain amount of other Pokemon. We've seen it with Snorlax EX. Steelix EX, as we saw at our tournament this past weekend, got top 4. So that strategy, especially right now in the metagame, is actually pretty good. There is like decks that can just hard beat these types of strategies, like Charizard EX and things that just can 1-hit KO. But most decks in the game aren't able to 1-hit KO stuff. So decks like this, which can just soak up damage and kind of chip away at you, are actually becoming more and more effective in a metagame right now, where there's not so many of those big heavy hitter type decks like Charizard. But very interesting to see that Guzzlord has found its way into this archetype. Guzzlord is forever one of the more iconic cards to Pokemon Pocket. Came out in ED Crisis like literally a year ago, which is crazy. But anyway, shout out to Guzzlord. And to this player here, shout out to Flippington in the Dark League. A really, really cool deck list. Next up, also at the Dark League, but a different Dark League tournament, is Hunter from Kuwait. Went 6-3, playing Mega Lopunny, but this is going to be like a daycare kind of Mega Lopunny deck. This is an interesting deck list. And they went 6-3 at this tournament, so I wanted to just highlight it. Again, that's what this video is all about. When we do these videos, like, take all of this with a grain of salt. Like, these are just sort of decks that performed pretty well like one time at a tournament. Doesn't mean they're going to be the new like meta strategy. But maybe they will. Like, that's the thing. You don't know. But that's why I love this video series. Anyway, here's the deck list. Mega Lopunny with Elekid Bench Snipe, and then we have a Cloth in here. That's right. We have a Cloth, and we have a Sightseer. So we're playing double Sightseer to find our Mega Lopunny, which is, I believe, what Sightseer does. Yeah. To look for stage 1 Pokemon. So just very consistently getting out Mega Lopunny, Elekid to kind of target the bench. What's interesting here is the combination of Cyrus and Will. And the reason that's interesting, of course, is you can only play one supporter card per turn. So you're either hitting the active for a guaranteed, nice amount of damage, sometimes a really big amount of damage with the boost to the coin flip luck with Will, but also you're targeting some bench Pokemon. So for decks that are kind of setting up their bench, you can kind of maybe do some damage to them with Elekid and then bring them up with Cyrus that turn. But again, then you're not guaranteed to hit any damage with Lopunny. So it's just kind of interesting. One Cloth, which is definitely thrown in here specifically to just KO Oricorios, which you gotta have to have, The thing about Mega Lopunny is that there's nothing else like in this whole package that can deal with Oricorio pretty easily. Kind of one of the downsides to it, so you need to play it with something that can just do that. We've seen a little bit of Mega Lopunny this season. We saw, of course, with Lucario, kind of a bit in the previous seasons. This season, there was the Annihilate deck that, did something early on. But this is kind of the latest Mega Lopunny sauce, I guess. Not a deck that I would put too much stock into, but it is playing double Lucky Ice Pop, which means you can always win. That's what this means. When you're playing double Ice Pop and 190 HP Pokemon, sometimes you're unable to lose the game, which is the unfortunate part about Pokemon Pocket these days with Lucky Ice Pop, but kind of fun in the sense that really any deck can do well. So yeah, there you go. Mega Lopunny, Elekid. We're not even playing... we're actually playing the 60 HP Baneri. You could have played the 50 HP and then also played Lycia to kind of guarantee more basics out, but it is what it is. Anyway, there's Mega Lopunny. Pretty interesting. Next up at the Highlights Blazing Inferno, number 10, is going to be Dark Magnezone. It's been a long time. You guys remember Dark Magnezone? There's been 2 iterations of it. There was Magnezone Darkrai way back in Space Time Smackdown, again, like a year ago, which was honestly a top tier meta deck for a bit. Also when this new Magnezone package came out a couple of seasons ago, we had the newer updated rendition of Dark Magnezone, which plays, of course, like Chinglings and Mega Absol, and that's what this deck is. So it's not a new deck. It's something that we've actually had for a couple of seasons now, but completely forgot about it. This is the first time I'm really seeing it in quite some time. So I wanted to highlight it because, again, this player went 6-3, breaking 2 mirror. 6-3, went all the way to top 16 with this deck, and a very cool list. It's definitely a slow burn type deck, but when you're playing Chingling and Darkrai, that does give you some pretty big advantages into other Chingling decks, specifically Altaria, Greninja, things like that. This Magnezone card is just really good. The issue with Magnezone that I've been seeing, at least right now, but also just in general, is that it's kind of too slow in a weird way. Magnezone loves to play Oricorio because Oricorio is a card that really stalls the game out. It just kind of slows things down and says, listen, like, you need to find a way to kind of just get rid of Oricorio. In the meantime, I'm going to set up my Magnezone, and it's going to be kind of an issue throughout the late game. But when you're not playing Oricorio, Magnezone kind of does feel a little bit too slow in a weird way, because this is something that's never going to be able to get set up until turn 3, and that is, of course, if you get turn 2 Magneton, which is more doable now with Clement, I will say. But yeah, Magnezone right now just doesn't even feel that strong. It's kind of crazy. Magnezone carried by Oricorio? No, I'm just kidding. I think Magnezone is certainly still good, but I don't know about Dark Magnezone. Again, people tried to bring it back last or a couple of seasons ago. Not to like great effect, but it was a deck list, and here you go. I wanted to highlight it. Anyway, sorry, shout out to Breaking 2 Mirror. Shout out to him from Dominican Republic. Nice. Okay, next up here is Turtle Geek from Canada at the $20 BEC Friday Challenger. And this is Rampardos. That's right. You guys remember Rampardos? I love Rampardos. This is like one of the only Rampardos successful placements I've seen in like so long. So I wanted to highlight it. And this is Rampardos with Lucario, also a Hitmontop and a Shaman in the deck as well. Went 6-2 from Canada, Turtle Geek. Here's the deck list. So the thing about Rampardos is that it's a very strong card. Like Rampardos is still one of the stronger Pokemon in the entire game. The inherent downside to not only Rampardos, but any fossil deck over the last 4 or 5 seasons, and why none of these fossil Pokemon have been that relevant ever since, is Chingling, because Chingling stops you from being able to bench your fossil card, because it is an item card when it is in your hand and then turns to a basic Pokemon when you play it. So if the Chingling lock is active, you can't even bench your fossils. It's a big deal. It's actually, I think, like the most significant reason why Rampardos and other fossils haven't been that relevant since Chingling came into the game. But here you go. It is a Rampardos deck list. Hitmontop is a really, really, really good card. We've seen this very successfully played in a lot of fighting decks, and I think if there is any top tier fighting deck in the future, I think Hitmontop has a lot of potential. 1 energy, 80 HP, that's 20 to the active and 20 to one of your bench Pokemon, your opponent's bench Pokemon, that is. A very good card. I love Hitmontop, and I think Sky Support Shaman is a bit of a meme. I've never believed in this card for one specific reason, and that is that it does not give itself free retreat if you lead with it in the active spot. So again, it's really not a good card. I'm not hating on them for playing it. I don't think Shaman's ever really a good card. It only works for basic Pokemon as well. But anyway, here's the deck list. Mesa Gosa, double fossils. And yeah, there you go. We have some like ways to get fossils, but not really. Like fossil search just isn't really that common. Like we do have Arven, which can search for a tool card and an item card, so it can grab fossils, but we haven't really seen anybody utilize Arven in like a fossil deck. And I think also fossils are just not that good. But it's Rampardos, guys. Shout out. Here we go. Rampardos is back. Not really, but anyway. Shout out to Turtle Geek. I love it. Next up here is Gerard Mentor. Gerard Mentor from France. 6-3 as well. Also at the BEC Friday Challenger, playing Melmetal. We all know Melmetal, and I'm always absolutely terrified if I ever see somebody play this deck. And I think Melmetal is good. I just don't think it's like good enough. and just, that's the reality probably of most of the cards that we're going to talk about today. But, here's just an example of somebody playing Melmetal. I am curious what the matches looked like here. Yeah, so hit 1, 2, 3, 4 Altarias, and only beat 2 of them. He actually lost to Altaria twice, which is unfortunate. You would hope Melmetal could beat Altaria. Did beat Suicune Excalibur, which I think does also make some sense. Melmetal was always a deck that actually was strong into Suicune because you don't need a lot of Pokemon on your bench and you have a lot of HP. It's actually pretty good in that sense. But yeah, interesting record here, but also an interesting deck, I mean, it's Melmetal. I really don't have anything to say about this, quite frankly, because I don't think anything's really different here. I don't really remember the last time Melmetal was like that common in the metagame. It kind of comes in waves sometimes, but this seems pretty standard, right? Double core barrier, training arena to bring that damage up. This thing can hit for 160. You just need like the 4 energies onto it and a tool card. But it's a very, very strong card, very strong Pokemon. It's just a bit slow, and it's things that are slow in the metagame are just always a little bit tough. You might be like, well, you could play like Indeedee in this deck, but again, like you need to play something for Oricorio, and you also really rely on leading off with Meltan. Like that's sort of the thing about Melmetal, is because it's so slow, it relies on Meltan in the active spot, which means you just don't really have enough room to play like other Pokemon that would make the deck better, but that's because it would make the lead off just so much more inconsistent. Like that's sort of the big deal with Melmetal. But a cool deck list, a cool deck. Shout out to Melmetal. Shout out to Gerard Mentor. I love to see it. Next up is Godi from Indonesia, or Godi, I don't know, but this player here, however you pronounce the name, is a phenomenal player. Always places well in tournaments. At the Frog EX Jagger Grimm's Cup was Dark Arceus, or Arceus and Crobat. This is also a throwback, and I wanted to highlight this because, again, do you guys remember this? Anybody that played the game, again, like, probably 8 or 9 months ago would remember this deck. This is what the like top tier meta decks kind of used to look like. This is like Arceus and then Aggro, Carnivine, and the Crobat. These are like the Arceus Link cards. This came out in Triumphant Light like way back in the day. This stuff was really, really fun. There was a bunch of Arceus Link cards that came out with Arceus EX, and they got buffed if Arceus was on the bench or in play. Crobat is that exact concept. So if Crobat is on your bench and Arceus is also in play, you can just deal 30 damage once per turn to your opponent's active Pokemon. It was kind of broken. And again, when Rare Candy came into the game, it's kind of a big deal. Like this is it was a strong combo. Carnivine here does 50 damage. Does 50 damage and is a grass type Pokemon for only 1 energy. Again, as long as Arceus is on your bench. And that's actually really good. This Carnivine, I thought, had a lot of potential in a metagame where there was a lot of Hydreigon, where you could KO dinos and stuff, or just hit like a Mega Absol turn 1 for 70. This Carnivine card is good. It's basically like the Skarmory card that does 50 if you have a tool card attached. They're along the same lines here. There's also a fighting type one, I think, that does that. Maybe not, I'm wrong. I don't know. But Arceus, I think at this point is struggling from like one thing in particular, which it always kind of struggled with, but even more so now, which is of course the 3 energy attack cost. That used to be like the standard back in the day. Like you had like Giratina, you had Arceus, you had Darkrai. These are Pokemon that could attack on turn 3. Arceus saw a bit of play back when baby Pokemon came out, but the prize math was always a little bit suspect, especially after Mega Pokemon came out. So that's the real issue with this deck, is of course like leading Arceus and not getting the energies. That's why they're playing 1 leaf in the deck. But Carnivine plus Crobat, that's 80 damage. Like you can go turn 150 and then turn 280, and all of a sudden you're gonna lose just flat out to a Carnivine. Pretty crazy. Starting Plains is gonna give Carnivine and Arceus 20 HP. Giant Cape, kind of, you know. So I think starting Plains was important to add to the game because it does bring back some of these basic EX cards that used to dominate the game, but really fell off kind of after. Really, I would say after Rare Candy came out. Starting Plains has kind of buffed these cards to be maybe a little bit on par, or at least more closely on par with some of like these Mega Pokemon and crazy decks that just go nuts. Because some of these Pokemon these days are insane. Things like Suicune don't really need it, but other things kind of do, you know. So it's a kind of it's one of those. It's one of those type deals. But anyway, a huge throwback, and we were able to play Lyssia in here. Just 1 Lyssia, I guess, for the Zubats, which again, I really like. I really like that. I like that we can just grab our Zubats with Lyssia, thin out the deck a little bit, is really cool. And yeah, I mean, nothing else to really say here. Copycat as well theoretically makes all of these old decks a bit better. So yeah, it's a throwback, you know? And I think it's a really interesting case study. You know, I think a lot of cards in Pokemon Pocket, and again, guys, it's why I make these videos every week on Wednesday. So many cards in Pokemon Pocket are really good. They just don't really see play because they're either really old or there's something newer that's maybe a little bit better. I don't know. But like some of these old strategies, you should dust them off the shelf and try them out because they're probably pretty good. I really do think so. Like Arceus Link here is very interesting. Definitely not bad cards. Anyway, shout out to Gotti or Goaty. Maybe this is like a throwback tournament. No, I don't think it is. No, like look at this though. Like this Arceus deck, like he beat Magnezone Bellibolt, you know, beat Dark Greninja, beat Golden Go, beat Hydreigon, beat Leafeon. Like it lost to Altaria is going to be tough for sure. You know, he lost to Najord, who's one of the better players in the world. Beat him at his own Frog EX tournament, which is nuts. But anyway, yeah, very cool deck. Shout out to Goaty. Next up, we have N.Ale from Argentina. This is, again, another throwback kind of ish, but I wanted to highlight this. This player went 4-3-1, so I know it's not like the craziest record of all time at the Ice-T Hometown Pocket, but it's Dragonite. And this is the first time I've seen Dragonite even remotely close, excuse me, like to like the top of any standings. So I wanted to highlight Dragonite. So here you go. It's Dragonite EX, but we do have one of the OG Dragonites in here with Draco Meteor. We have Helix Fossil. So like we're playing the old like big air balloon as well, which is hilarious. So I don't like the whole concept of this combo here is to utilize the baby Pokemon, get Dragonite, whether it's Dragonite EX or not, hopefully Dragonite EX set up pretty early because you can do that. I don't know what energy types this deck is using. Doesn't say, but probably dual energy, I would imagine. So you play 1 Pichu, 1 Mantike, and then you're playing water and lightning energy. The combo here is Big Air Balloon gives your stage 2 Pokemon free retreat. So it gives Dragonite EX and the other Dragonite free retreat, although you don't have to retreat this Dragonite. Gives Dragonite EX free retreat. And then after you attack, you can't attack again. But that effect can get reset as long as you go to the bench. It resets that negative effect on Dragonite after the Giga Impact. So what happens is you free retreat, and then you retreat into Helix Fossil, which then you can discard because it's a fossil card. You can discard this from play at any time. So you can just discard it when it's in the active spot and then force the opportunity to bring up another Pokemon, effectively double pivoting Big Air Balloon, Helix Fossil, Dragonite combo. I mean, it's kind of a cook. I know this player went 4-3-1, and I know it's Dragonite EX. I know it's 180, so you're not even KOing most of these Mega Pokemon, but it's very cool. Very, very cool, and it's Dragonite. We all love Dragonite. Maybe we'll get a Mega Dragonite card. I forgot Mega Dragonite was in the game. It would be hilarious, though. I don't think any Dragon Pokemon have ever been good. I think Dragonite EX is like maybe the best thing we've ever gotten. I could be wrong about that. Somebody correct me in the comments. But yeah, I love it. I love this deck. What are your thoughts here? I know it went 4-3-1, but hey, shout out to N.Ale with the absolute cook. The Helix Fossil, Big Air Balloon, Spicy Cook. I love it. Next up, Lorenzo Astorica from Argentina, once again at the Umbreon 99s tournament. This is an 8-3 record, Ninetales Crawdaunt, which, you know, everybody's been playing Ninetales with Baxcalibur, and you know, it's not a bad deck. Ninetales is definitely a decent card, but this is like Ninetales how I like to play it, how I would play it if I was playing Ninetales, which is with Unruly Claw, Crawdaunt, and also Team Star Grunts, so just maximum energy discarding. We've seen this not be that relevant this season. Even it's interesting, like even without a lot of Hydreigon, like decks just honestly can kind of get around the energy discards like better than you might think, and I think it's because this only discards energies from like your opponent's active Pokemon. Team Star Grunt though can work on a bench Pokemon. It's just any Pokemon with an ability. It's actually random. If you don't know what Team Star Grunt does. Yeah, so I mean, basically, like this deck is all about locking Pokemon in the active spot and never allowing them to be able to attack, because between Crawdaunt and Alolan Ninetales, they won't have any energies, and that is really, really fun. That's really cool. Ninetales doesn't discard energies; it stops your opponent from attaching energies, which in general is pretty relevant. But Crawdaunt discards them, so you kind of you trap Pokemon in the active. They can't even like attach an energy to retreat. If Ninetales is in the active. So it's a really fun strategy, and I really do think this is the combo that you're supposed to play, Ninetales Crawdaunt. Again, maybe not the most like high tier thing in the world, but very, very cool. 8-3 is a very respectable record here. Ended up losing to Altaria 3 times. You know, again, unfortunate for sure, but you know, that's Altaria, and Altaria is just way too good. But beat a lot of other really cool stuff. Anyway, shout out to Lorenzo. Very, very fun deck. Shout out to Ninetales. Love that. Bard Zero from the United States, 6-3, Meowscarada. This is like the first placement I've seen in weeks for Meowscarada. Is Meowscarada that good? The question can be answered by probably not. What's unfortunate is Meowscarada actually lost to double Absol decks here at the end of day 1, and then lost to Houndstone in day 2 or in Top Cut. But yeah, I mean, you know, listen, it's Meowscarada. I like Meowscarada a lot. Again, this is a deck that was proven to be really, really good, actually, into both Suicune and Greninja and Hydreigon. 2 decks that don't really see much play anymore this season. Very unfortunate for Meowscarada, but again, suffering for our sins. Definitely still a really, really fun deck. Really cool deck list. I think a lot of people, in fact, were quite disappointed this season after Meowscarada kind of fell out of competitive play, because they were really looking forward to playing it. But I think Meowscarada did its job. I think it came in and said, hey, listen, you're going to have to change which decks you play. And that's what happened. So Meowscarada didn't end up being that relevant this season, but a very, very fun deck. And I guess here's just one example of a Meowscarada deck doing well this season, which is cool. You know, this late in the season to see Meowscarada doing pretty well. Anyway, though, shout out to Bardo. Next up here is at our tournament is My Diamonds' deck. Jolteon. So PMPT number 23 this past weekend. My Diamonds went 6-2-1. Did make day 2 playing Jolteon. And, you know, we all love Jolteon. I think at this point, Jolteon is, by the way, if anybody's watching this, just a PSA. This, our tournament, we require people to submit the energy types for their deck lists. And the reason we do that is predominantly so people don't play like some weird strategies, but like also it helps me when I make content. So people know what energy types people are playing in their decks. And quite frankly, if you're running a tournament, please do this. You don't have to, but I would recommend it, and it helps me. So anyway, that's a tangent. This is My Diamonds' deck. Went 6-2-1. I like Jolteon. Jolteon was actually like totally like viable. It was like fringe meta for like a long time. Specifically was decent into like Suicune and stuff, but it was also good into Hydreigon, which was really relevant. The whole combo here of Electromagnetic Wall and Cyrus was always really fun. My Diamonds is playing a Repel, and he's also playing a Penny, which is crazy work here. Very, very crazy. If you forget what Penny does here, you look at a random supporter card that's not Penny from your opponent's deck and shuffle it back into their deck, and you use the effect of that card as the effect of this card. It's very strange supporter, but it was reprinted in the most recent set, so maybe he was like, you know what, I'll give it a go. I love Repel. Double Sabrina, effectively, or double Gust here with Sabrina and Repel, and then also Cyrus is pretty cool. The way that Electromagnetic Wall works is that if they want to set up their bench Pokemon, well, then their bench Pokemon takes damage from Electromagnetic Wall, and then we can bring that Pokemon up into the active with Cyrus on our turn and then attack it. So Jolteon's a very cool deck. Any decks that just sort of pile on a bunch of energies, like Gardevoir, like Hydreigon, they kind of, they struggle into Jolteon. It's really not a bad card. And we also have access to EV Bag, Training Arena as well to buff the damage. Jolteon's never been that strong, but it's never been a terrible card. Also, Beginning Bolt Jolteon is actually one of my favorite Pokemon in all of Pokemon Pocket. 60 damage on turn one. Turn one going second is hilarious because a boosted evolution Eevee, we can evolve into these Jolteons on our first turn, which is awesome and very, very cool. I have also kind of thought about like Electric Generator or Zero Aura E-Switch Jolteon just to kind of go turn one KOs like on basic Pokemon. I love Beginning Bolt Jolteon. You can also get boosted by EV Bag and hit for like, I don't even know, like 70, 80 damage with on turn one with Jolteon. It's very, very cool. Very, very fun. Anyway, shout out to My Diamonds and shout out to Penny, and then shout out to PMPT number 23 this past weekend. Lastly here, also at our tournament this past weekend, making day 2 is Draxoz from Turkey. Mega Venusaur. Do you guys remember Mega Venusaur? Also a card that is just like so weird. Mega Venusaur is not bad. Was again very specifically counter meta into some decent strategies in previous seasons like Suicune and Greninja. Mega Venusaur is really not a bad card, but also at the same time kind of struggles in some ways. One of those being that you kind of rely on Ivysaur. This deck is playing literally one Bulbasaur. So you only have to worry about this, and we're not playing any Pokeball. And then you have double Quick Growth Extract, double Ivysaur, double Venusaur. So you're just guaranteeing or maximizing the ability to get that one Venusaur. But once you do get into it, you're just hoping that it's enough to win the game, which, you know, sometimes it is. Double Lily in the deck, double Heavy Helmet, PCL as well. This is and an Erica. This is just a deck that is going to set up and then hopefully be enough to win. You know what I mean? Like, just don't lose on turn 2, and then hopefully, like, your opponent can't get over the Venusaur. It's actually, like, a totally fine strategy. It's unfortunate, like, the 20-card deck limit and just the nature of how some of this stuff works in Pokemon Pocket. A lot of decks are kind of required to play their decks like this. Like, Melmetal does kind of the same thing. It's just really tough to fit Mega Venusaur into something, into anything else. Like, if you're playing this, you gotta just play it. I have tested like Mega Venusaur with Lilligants and Leaf Capes and stuff. It's pretty funny to have like a 320 HP Pokemon. It's just not even that good. Like, that's what's crazy about Mega Venusaur. But that HP amount is kind of crazy, I'm not gonna lie. Heavy Helmet, Lily, crazy. Shout out to Venusaur, man. It's just a cool deck list. This is definitely something that you just sort of play because you're like, maybe it'll be funny if I get like one win, you know. But this player went 6-3. 6-3, lost to Magnezone. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to beat Oricorio. As we noticed there, nothing here for Oricorio. I mean, maybe Bulbasaur could do it because you're living one hit, right? So maybe Bulbasaur could just get it done. Probably not. So we lost to Oricorio here, and then we also lost to just Altaria with Chingling, I guess, which also is probably... We lost to Altaria twice. A lot of the decks we're talking about today are going to lose to Altaria. Altaria really is like the gatekeeper in the game. Unfortunately, Altaria is just so much better like than really almost anything else. Like, unless you're playing just sort of high roll RNG stuff, like Altaria is really good. Altaria is crazy. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, stay tuned for the trailer for the new set announcing tomorrow that we will cover and break down. Gonna be a whole lot of fun. And don't forget to register for PMPT number 24, the last tournament of the season. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to register. Link down in the description below. I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Peace out. Have a good one. We'll see you guys next time. And yeah. Bye.